Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The universe had long been a canvas of intrigue and conquest, a swirling mass of competing species, empires, and ancient races. Wars were fought between galaxies, alliances forged and broken on the whims of powerful forces. For those who traversed the stars, the galaxy was a vast and dangerous place where the strongest ruled and the weak were consumed. It was understood among the wiser and more experienced species of the cosmos that only the strongest survived the endless tide of violence and greed. So it was that when the first alien scouts began to venture toward the blue planet that was known as Earth, they did so with little concern. To the vast majority of the galaxy's civilizations, Earth was nothing more than a backwater, a forgotten world in the far reaches of an unimportant system. It was a planet teeming with life, certainly, but it was known to be a relatively primitive species, one still using rudimentary technology by galactic standards. In truth, Earth seemed to pose little threat. Its inhabitants were still confined to their home world, their knowledge of the cosmos limited at best. From the perspective of the alien races who ruled the stars, Earth was defenseless. For centuries, the galaxy's most powerful empires had circled Earth like vultures, watching and waiting. At first, the invaders were only scouts, searching for signs of intelligence or military might that might make Earth valuable as a prize. They found none. The humans, despite their growing technological capabilities, were still weak. Their weapons, though advanced by their standards, were no match for the superior firepower of the galactic powers. Earth's governments had barely managed to make it to space, and the technology they had developed was still primitive compared to what the rest of the galaxy had mastered. In truth, the idea of attacking Earth seemed almost laughable to most. Some of the more ambitious and curious empires had sent a few small exploratory missions, some to study the humans, others to see if there was any potential for conquest. They found nothing to be concerned about. Earth's cities were still developing, their resources seemingly inexhaustible but largely unrefined. And its people, despite their boundless creativity and determination, were still fragmented, divided, and mired in petty conflicts. It was a chaotic, violent world, a world that had not yet even united under a single government, let alone explored the stars or developed the kind of advanced technology needed to challenge any serious galactic power. Yet, despite this apparent vulnerability, Earth was never attacked. The alien races, with all their advanced weaponry and cunning, never moved in for the kill. For centuries, Earth remained untouched, a planet seemingly left alone by the greater powers of the galaxy. The reasons for this were not immediately clear to the invaders. They didn't know why the humans were left to their own devices, or why they had not been exploited, colonized, or destroyed like countless other planets before them. There was something about Earth that made it different. Something that defied the rules of conquest, something that made even the most powerful species hesitate before moving in. It wasn't until the first true invasion attempt that the galaxy's civilizations began to understand why Earth had been left alone for so long. The attack came from the Xylarath Empire, a militaristic and expansionist civilization that had already conquered a dozen star systems. Their fleets were vast, their armies countless, and their technology light years ahead of anything humanity had developed. The Xylarath saw Earth as an easy target, primitive, weak, and defenseless. The planet had nothing of particular value in terms of resources or strategic importance, but the Xylarath were driven by a relentless desire to expand their empire and crush any civilization that resisted their rule. Earth, they reasoned, would be a perfect addition to their collection. The invasion was swift. The Xylarath fleet descended upon Earth with a power that could have obliterated entire continents. Their weapons, capable of disintegrating cities with a single blast, rained down on Earth's surface. The human military, though valiant, was outmatched from the start. Despite their ingenuity and courage, they had no real hope of standing against the Xylarath's technological superiority. Earth's governments had not united in time to coordinate an effective defense, and the result was catastrophic. Cities were decimated, vast swaths of the world's population were wiped out in mere hours, and humanity was on the brink of extinction. But then, something happened that the Xylarath had not anticipated. Something they couldn't have foreseen. As the Xylarath forces continued their devastating bombardment, a strange phenomenon occurred. The human resistance, which had been largely disorganized and scattered across the planet, suddenly began to fight back. It wasn't through sheer numbers, for they were vastly outgunned. It wasn't through technological superiority, for their weapons were mere toys compared to the Xylarath's. No, it was something else, something that no alien had ever witnessed before. It was a combination of human will, creativity, and sheer unpredictability. The Xylarath, who prided themselves on their meticulous planning and overwhelming firepower, found themselves facing an enemy that did not play by the rules. Humans adapted to the invasion in ways the Xylarath couldn't have predicted. They began to use their planet's resources in innovative ways, crafting weapons from scrap materials and repurposing old technology to create new, deadly tools. They were relentless in their efforts, constantly shifting their tactics and using guerrilla warfare to harass the Xylarath at every turn. The Xylarath, accustomed to easily subduing weaker species, soon found themselves bogged down in a conflict they couldn't win. The turning point came when a group of humans, using a combination of hacked alien technology and their own engineering genius, managed to infiltrate the Xylarath mothership. It was a dangerous, nearly impossible mission, but they succeeded in planting a virus in the ship's central command systems, shutting down the Xylarath's fleet and disabling their weapons. The human resistance was able to capture one of the Xylarath commanders alive, and through their intelligence, they learned of a shocking truth. The Xylarath had never invaded Earth before, because they had been warned by the oldest and most powerful entities in the galaxy. Earth, it turned out, was a planet that had been marked for a reason. A world whose inhabitants had unknowingly been part of a much larger cosmic design. It was not the humans themselves that had earned this protection, but rather the planet itself. Earth was a unique world, one with a connection to forces far beyond any comprehension. The planet was protected by something older and far more powerful than the Xylarath or any of the other empires in the galaxy. A force that transcended the understanding of even the oldest and most advanced civilizations. The Xylarath, in their arrogance, had underestimated Earth's true nature. They had believed that they could simply conquer the planet, as they had done to so many others. They had assumed that Earth's defenses would be no different from any other primitive world. But the reality was far more complicated. The humans, it turned out, were not as defenseless as they seemed. Their will to survive, their boundless creativity, and their unyielding resolve had awakened something deep within the planet itself, a hidden power that had been dormant for eons. Earth, it seemed, was a nexus point, a crossroads of cosmic energy that had been carefully nurtured by ancient forces. And when the Xylorath began their invasion, they unwittingly triggered a response that had been lying in wait for millennia. What followed was nothing short of catastrophic for the Xylorath. As the alien forces regrouped, they found themselves under assault, not just from human resistance fighters, but from the very planet they had hoped to conquer. Massive energy storms began to form, swirling around the planet in a violent, uncontrollable fury. The skies themselves seemed to turn against the invaders as the planet's magnetic fields began to warp, creating electromagnetic pulses that disabled the Xylorath's weapons and communication systems. The Xylorath's once mighty fleet was suddenly in disarray, unable to function properly under the onslaught of cosmic forces they could not understand or control. As the energy fields intensified, the Xylorath commanders began to panic. They had never encountered anything like this before. The planet, which they had assumed was defenseless, was now unleashing a force so powerful that even their advanced technology could not withstand it. Ships that were once impervious to most forms of attack began to crack and burn, their hulls melting under the pressure of the energy surges. Entire divisions of Xylorath ground forces were caught in the electromagnetic storms, their weapons rendered useless, their machines rendered immobile. It was as though the planet itself had become a living, breathing entity, fighting back against its would-be conquerors with a ferocity that no one had ever expected. The Xylorath soon realized the truth. Earth was not just a defenseless planet. It was a planet whose very existence was tied to a cosmic force, a force so ancient and powerful that it could not be understood by even the most advanced races in the galaxy. The humans, despite their primitive technology and chaotic nature, were simply the caretakers of this planet, and their survival instinct had unknowingly awakened the latent power within the Earth. As the battle raged on, the Xylorath began to retreat, their once unshakable confidence shattered by the realization that they had been outmatched by something far beyond their understanding. They withdrew their forces, leaving Earth behind, and fled back into the galaxy, vowing never to return. In the aftermath of the invasion, Earth was left scarred, but the humans had survived. The Xylorath had been forced to acknowledge the power of a world they had once thought defenseless. The galaxy's other civilizations, too, took notice. The reputation of Earth spread like wildfire across the stars. No longer was it seen as a backwater planet, an easy target for conquest. It had become a symbol of something much larger, a symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and the untapped potential of a species that had once been underestimated. And so, the galaxy learned a valuable lesson. No one would ever again underestimate Earth. No one would ever again see it as a defenseless, weak planet. Earth was far more than just the sum of its parts. It was a world with an untold power, a power that, when unleashed, could change the course of the entire galaxy.